Hello, everybody, and good evening. And tonight, we're going to have a two-part show because in our community, we have a lot of different issues that are very important, and both of these are important. Tonight, we have, I won't call her a politician, a great senator who I probably had the most respect for, and I'll explain in a minute. We're going to talk about opium, the crises, and I'll let her explain that. But we're also going to talk about the second half, about the Port of Wilmington. And I'll be by myself on that segment. And make sure you tune in. And I'm quite sure some of the people will be. But again, we have so many different issues, but these are two important issues that impact the state. I won't even say the city, I'll say the whole state. But this young lady here, who I have a lot of respect for, and I'm gonna tell you why. She was the county council president. She walked away at the height of her career that could have took her any place. Maybe she'd have stayed, she might be the governor now. But I've never seen nobody do this, to take care of her family and go back to school. People, I've never seen this in my career, and I've been around a good while. So I have a lot of respect for her. And her name is Senator Stephanie Hansen. I believe I'm pronouncing it right. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we're going to ask some questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you tonight.
Thank you. Now, you are the senator for the 10th District, and explain about what's your district and what you cover.
My district covers a good part of Middletown, Bear Glasgow, and up into Newark. So it's sort of that western part of the state in Newcastle County all the way to Maryland.
Okay. Now, she won a special election in 2016. Can you talk about your special election, and then I want to go into why you're here and want to talk to the community tonight.
All right. The special election came about because Bethany Hall Long, who was the previous state senator in this area, ran and won the race for lieutenant governor. So she was running in her midterm. So she had a 4-year term. She ran in her second year, midway through that, and she won. So that left her seat available and open. So the parties, the Republican, Democrat Party, and the Libertarian Party, all had a special election in February of 2017, and I was the winner of the election.
Okay. Now, okay, you are an attorney. Can you explain what type of attorney you are and some of your committees that you're on? A little your background a little bit.
I'm an environmental attorney. Prior to being on county council even, I worked for the Department of Natural Resources as an environmental scientist and a hydrologist, so I have a scientific bent. And that's why I went on to go to law school to do environmental law. So I do a lot of redevelopment, like the redevelopment of brownfields, in particular, a lot of the buildings that you see down at the riverfront. I was involved in a lot of the building of those. And the committees that I'm on down in the Senate, it's the Environmental or Natural Resource Committee is one of them, the Transportation Committee, the Agriculture Committee, Sunset Committee, and there's one on Health and Social Services.
Okay. Also, now, the reason why you're here tonight is, talk about the reason why you're here. I heard you on the radio, and I wanted to do a show about it, and I want you to talk about why you're here, the reason why you're here tonight.
One of the big issues of mine that I wanted to really make some headway on in the General Assembly, and it's been a personal issue of mine for a long time, has been the treatment of substance abuse disorders. For instance, in particular, what we're seeing now with the current opioid crisis that we have, the public health crisis. So I have spent a lot of time. This is an issue that's near and dear to my heart. I've lost people to addiction, and I have family members to addiction, and I have others that have been able to navigate that and are living. But it's a hard, difficult struggle, and it is one that crosses all neighborhoods, all socioeconomic levels and backgrounds. This gets into every neighborhood, and it affects us all. Even if it's something that's not affecting your family, it is likely that your family is somehow impacted by it, even in the taxes that you currently pay, because it is estimated that up to 80% of the folks that are currently incarcerated have a substance abuse problem. Delaware is the highest in the nation when it comes to prescribing high-dose opioids. We are the highest in the nation, and we have some of the highest death rates from opiate overdose. In fact, we had 345 in 2017. 345 deaths from overdose of opiates in 2017, this past year. That's like one a day. So this is something that I feel very passionately about. We have a lot of work to do. What I've been doing over the last year or so is I've been going around to look at all the facilities, to tour and talk to all the folks that are running different types of treatment facilities throughout our state. And there's a lot of them. There are a lot of them that have some piece of the puzzle, whether it's a detox facility, a treatment, an in-house treatment facility, a residential treatment, or non-residential treatment, just you're going, treatment for during the daytime. We have a lot of them, and it's so confusing, first of all, for someone to get through that system. But there's a lot of misconceptions that I think people have as well. Even those who are addicted have. A lot of people think, well, I'm going to go into Kirkwood Detox. It's a 3 to 5 day program. I can be out in Thursday. I'll get out on Thursday and I can go back to my job or back to the way I live. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to come out of Kirkwood Detox or any other detox for 3 to 5 days and think everything's going to be fine. You may not even come out of a 14-day program and have everything fine. In fact, a lot of people can't. What we're finding right now is we used to have programs that ran for a much longer period of time, and we believe that those were a lot more successful. We're going back to look at that data now, and what we're finding at this point in time, something happened in around 2015 or so when it came to insurance starting to changing their coverage for addiction treatment. It used to be in the state with our Medicaid program that it was a cost reimbursement system. You would go in, you would go into substance abuse treatment, and it would be covered a particular way on the cost reimbursement. Now it's changed to a fee for service. I can't tell you that I understand exactly what happened as a result, how that happened, but I can tell you that as a result of that, we've seen long-term treatment go way down. We've seen substance abuse facilities that used to treat people for an average of 58 days or more, now going down to 2 weeks and having to fight and battle with the insurance company to get people to stay in there for longer than 14 days. And I can tell you one thing, if you're somebody that's been in a substance abuse issue, if you've been on heroin for 10 years, 14 days is probably not going to do it for you. And what we're seeing and we're hearing from the people that have these facilities is they're seeing the same people 4 and 5 times over and over again. If you're going through a substance abuse program 4 and 5 times, these 14-day programs or so, that's because those programs aren't working.
But you're lucky to get a 14-day program. When I was president for the city, 30 days was the minimum.
Yeah.
And them days is over. Like they always try to get people in a week or two. You got to fight.
Yes.
And one of the things I wanted to say, I want our community to understand that alternative treatment program. Okay, in Virginia they did a study that that people suffering with chronic pain had better treatment. They had better outcome when they prescribed non-opium pain medication. When they prescribed therapy, they did better without the pain medicine.
Yes.
Then this is the facts that when they ibuprofen and different things, that they did much better.
Yes, they did. And I'm actually, that's one of the things that I will have a bill coming out in a couple of weeks that is going to be addressing that very issue, because I know I've heard the same thing and I've heard the same statistics, and you're right. And what we did, was I had a number of interns that were working with me in the Department of Health and Social Services. So we looked at all the different types of treatments that are out there to manage pain without opioids. And we narrowed that down to just those that had some evidence-based results behind them that you could scientifically measure these worked. And there were 5 of them. We found that there were 5. There was physical therapy, acupuncture, massage therapy, yoga, and chiropractic. And out of those 5, then we did an analysis. If we were going to have insurance cover all of those things, how much would that cost? And we got some information back that it was going to cost a lot, probably more than we would be ready to absorb. And we said, well, okay, well, let's step back for a second. What are the ones that we think that we can begin working on right away that will be the first bite of the apple? Even if we can't get everything right now, let's get the first bite of the apple. And that would be lifting the caps currently on physical therapy and chiropractic. Because what we're finding is a number of people you go to your physical therapist, you can get a certain number of visits covered, but then maybe that isn't enough for you.
Right.
Or maybe you've in the meantime had another surgery or another injury and you need to go back and you're not getting covered, and then that's when the physician says, well, it's time to write you a prescription. We want to lift those caps.
What about, okay, it seems like another thing we need to do is change the mindset. And that's going to be a difficult problem, because what I see is I'm looking at the state now, you have the prison, they're spending millions and millions of dollars on overtime. And a lot of it is, and it's a lot of tension down there, but a lot of it, 80% of the people there are for drug-related incidents. So the state is paying big money on the back end, and it's creating problems. Like the whole balance is out of balance.
Right.
So how, again, where one time it was you could go to the state hospital for treatment, you can go different places. So we're spending the money.
Yes, we are.
And it's creating a lot of problems across the board. So how do we get a chance to change the mindset? And again, the money's there. It's just going to, I think, it's not fixing the problem. It's just throwing it. We're not fixing it. We just warehousing people. Where they need treatment. So what do you think about that?
Well, from what I understand, our prison system is the largest concentration of folks with substance abuse disorders that we have in the state. It's basically our, de facto drug treatment center. But we're not doing a lot of treatment there. Mm-hmm. There is a new program within the correctional system that will help you detox. It's a new program. I think it only started about last March or so. But then once you get to that, there's not a lot for you in the way of counseling and drug treatment, unless you're a part of the KEY or the CREST program. And there isn't a lot more than just that. I think one of the big problems that we have too is, and this is a very vulnerable population when they're coming out of prison, because they may not have received any treatment while that they're in there, but as soon as they come out, what we're finding is they go back to their old neighborhoods, they go back to the people that they were with, and they want to try and pick up right where they left off with the same dosage. And we find a tremendous spike in the number of deaths from folks who have just been released from prison because they've gone out and they think they can pick up right where they left off, and that's an overdose.
Now another, okay, that's addressing one. What about the people who go to the doctor who's never chose drugs, who go to the doctor because they was in an accident or they hurt their ankle or whatever? They get introduced to pain prescription, and then get addicted, and then their doctor cut them off, and then they go, and a lot of that starts with the prescription.
Yes,
and
it does.
So you get a lot of people who get introduced to it. Basically, I call it by accident, and the doctors are prescribing. And I give you a good example. I know somebody's grandmother who was 95, hurt her ankle. They had prescribed Percocets. So she's 95. Where's my Percocet? Where's my Percocet? They're prescribing to anybody and everybody. And not only that, I watched the episode on 60 Minutes where the DEA they was locking doctors up and the pharmaceutical people. So what they did, we're gonna go to the distributor. They went to the people who was making it. Then they start putting on lobbyists and spending the money, and they end up, the guy had 650 people under his department, he was supervisor. They end up taking all his people away, and they got Congress to enact a bill where they couldn't go after the companies, and they put it in law. And they was going, and the guy ended up they took everybody away from him, and the people who was prosecuting, the big people, they ended up working for the company. And this shows you, they was making $3 or $4 billion a quarter profit. So they changed the law where now you cannot go after the, basically the people who are creating the problem. You can't go after them by law, but it's kind of like here where all the drugs come in the community, they lock up the little guy, and the big guy who's bringing it in, he gets a free pass. So.
Well, we're going to try to address that. I have a bill that we're working on right now, and we have a number of people that have been working on this since probably January or so. And what we would like to do is impose a fee of some kind, whether it's an impact fee, a stewardship fee, whatever you want to call it, on the manufacturers who are actually manufacturing the drugs that are in our communities now. And it would be on, there's a unit of measurement called milligram of morphine milligram equivalent. So it's that same unit of strength that you can follow throughout all the different Percocets and oxycodones and all that. You can use it by this milligram of morphine equivalent. So for every milligram of morphine equivalent, you would be, a certain fee would be assessed to you. So maybe 1 cent for, we're looking at this point, 1 cent for every morphine milligram equivalent. So if you had an oxycodone 10 milligrams, the fee for that would be 15 cents. If you had an Oxy 30, looked like the fee to that be about 45 cents per pill. So that's what we're trying to do right now, and still gathering our preliminary information to see how doable that's going to be. But I can tell you there are a lot of people in the General Assembly that want action on this. And they want to know that, that they have the manufacturers and the distributors, they're making money off of this. And we have people dying as a result of this. Like I said, we are the highest prescribing state in the nation, Delaware. How does that happen? So I'm going to try to find a way to get to that, because I see the inequity and I see that it isn't fair. And we've got to find a way to tap into that money so we can bring in funds for our treatment systems, for our residential treatment, for naloxone. For peer supports, for treatment navigators. We have so many holes in our system. The need is so great, and people are dying.
Now, let me ask the question. Now, I know Attorney General Matt Dinn is putting a lawsuit, I believe, some type of lawsuit against the manufacturer. Are you working with Matt, Attorney General's office? Can you talk about that?
Well, we do work together, yes.
Okay.
What he's doing is separate than the fee that I'm looking at as well, but I do have his office wrapped into our fee, because what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to say, we're going to assess this fee against the manufacturers, but we do not want them to then turn around and tack it on to the price that we're all going to have to pay.
I was going to get to that, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
they would just pass the fee down to the consumer.
That's right. So we want to find a way that won't happen.
Okay. Because I'm going to ask Matt. I talked to him, and we're going to get our schedules together, because I want him to come on and talk about it again, because this is a big, big problem. Yeah. It kills lives. It messes up relationships. It got Delaware. It has the state in such an off balance as far as finances and this and that, and there's things that need to be done, and I'm glad that you are definitely on top of it, because it says, here, the overdose rates, the CCD is 40% deaths in 2016. Most of them are 40%, are deaths because of prescription drugs.
They are.
And that's deep.
That's very deep. But I want people, I'd like for us to talk about a couple of things that that I want people to understand, and particularly those that are in addiction and their family members. Sometimes it takes people more than one try to kick this. Oftentimes it does. So I don't want people to feel like they're a failure. If they've tried it once, they've tried it twice, I've gone in and out, I've been to Bowling Green, I've been to Dover Behavioral Health, I've been to Kirkwood, and it's not working for me. It will work for you. It can work for you. Put your mind to it and make the call. You know, we have the Delaware Help is Here line. We call my office. I will try to get help for people as well. I personally help folks get through the system. That's how I know that our system is so difficult to navigate. It was hard for me, okay? I've done it now with a number of folks personally, getting them from detox to the next residential treatment, then to sober living houses, and then all the wraparound services that folks need. Because if you have to look at those as well. Because someone may have made it through treatment, they've made it into sober living, they think they're doing pretty well, they've got 3 or 4 months clean, but then they don't have a job, you know, or they've lost their license, they've got legal problems, they don't have insurance, so now they don't know how to sign up for Medicaid. A lot of times people that have been in addiction for 10 years, they stopped growing about 10 years ago. So if you say to them, well, just go on the computer and go online and get yourself a job on site, they're going to look at you like, yeah, right, I haven't had a computer for a long time. You know, they've sold the things that had any value. They've burned a lot of the bridges, so they can't go to family members. So you have to make sure that these folks know that they are worthy, that they may have fallen and stumbled time after time, but if they are ready and they are willing to do the hard work it takes to go into recovery, there are people there now that are going to listen to them and they're going to help them. I will help them. And it's a rough road, but I am working with the people in our state. We have new leadership at the Department of Health and Social Services, and DSAM, they call it, the mental health section. And we are trying to put a program together, and we are putting a program, and there are people that are getting help.
What I would like to see too, when people are making these decisions, to have some people who's been through it, who's been in the community at the table.
That's right.
Because sometimes you have people with all goodwill, but they don't have the experience, and they don't know the little things that make things tick. And sometimes they're being ignored. Sometimes the people who have the most information is being ignored the most.
They're called, yes, and there is now a program in place. It builds on peers. Because oftentimes the best person that's going to reach out and help somebody out of trouble is a peer, somebody that knows where they've been. And that helps not only the person that they're helping, but it helps that peer as well, because they get self-worth out of this. It's validation that what they've been doing is the right thing. So the state actually has now a program that will certify you as a certified peer recovery support specialist that you can go get a certificate. And there are a number of places that hire those that are in the substance abuse arena here that provide this, that use peers that they actually employ. And I'm working with others down the General Assembly now to put together what we hope will be a curriculum to actually get degreed, credentialed folks who are peers going through this. Because it's going to take an army.
Oh, no question. And I remember they had the Key program that you had some good people who knew. Pastor D was one of them. A good friend of mine named Shirley Ruffin. You had good people who understood, and you know, among others, that I would like to see them back at the table because they know, and people would talk to them and say things that they might not tell you, but they would tell them. That might be crucial. So, you know, and then the program was very successful. And sometimes it seems like when things get successful, people tend to get rid of it.
That happened. I have had a number of conversations now with 2 of our retired judges in drug court. And they relayed to me that we used to have the model drug court system for the nation, and that over time that has eroded. we need to get that back. You know, I'm in the process of jump-starting those conversations again.
Good.
To find out where did it go wrong, you know?
Political. I mean, when I say political, when you get different administrations in and this one wants, but I think for me, you being an attorney, you having passion, and I think that you can help navigate legally and commitment-wise. A lot of people don't have the commitment or the expertise, so you got both. So, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. I'm just glad because it's needed.
It is.
It's needed. You know, it's. I would like to see too that when people, I hope this gets monitored where people go to the hospital, to the doctor, you know, for non-serious injuries, they get these serious addictive pain medicines, and I would like to see that reduced because that's the start. That starts a lot of it.
Yes, it does. And right now, the bill that I told you about, the alternative therapies bill that we're going to be seeing, part of that has to do with what we call the informed consent. Right now, the doctor does not have to tell you necessarily that he's prescribing to you an opiate until I believe it's 7 days. So you could, and what we understand is that 3 out of 5 people who are prescribed opiates after going to the hospital, they don't even know it. They don't even know it. And how long does it take you to become addicted? That's a very short period of time. There are a number of folks that believe it's a whole lot less than 7 days.
Right. And I think too, a lot of it, I'm not an expert, so, but a lot of it too is probably on your personality and on your, you know, your DNA type of thing. So I don't, like I said again, that's just, I don't have the scientific fact to prove it, so, but that's just what I think. You know what I mean? So, but again, this is something that's needed. And in closing, again, and like I said, I have the utmost respect because again, you walked away from a serious career, but I'm glad that you're back.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're back and you back running again.
Yes.
And take your time and anything you want to talk about, just go ahead and just talk about it.
Well, I think when you said it's in your DNA, I think that's true. What we've seen a lot of times is that somebody may stop drinking, but then they pick up opiates.
Right.
Or they've stopped opiates, but now they are gambling.
Right.
Or a lot smoking. You're just kind of trading one addiction for another. So there is a lot to that. And particularly you'll see it'll run in families as well. And oftentimes, you know, someone that is struggling with an addiction is not the only person in their family.
Right.
But when they are able to get a hold of that and able to get in recovery successfully, many times their family members look to them as the beacon to help them.
Right.
And we see that a lot. I'm very privileged and honored to be given this opportunity to hopefully make a difference in such a big, horrible issue. And I can tell you that I wake up every morning thinking about it. What am I going to do today that's going to further this? What am I going to do that's going to make this better? And when I go to bed at night, I take inventory and start thinking, well, what am I going to do tomorrow? I recognize that being elected in this position is a tremendous responsibility to do it right, and it's a tremendous opportunity. And I am not squandering a single day.
Wow. We appreciate it, and we are blessed to have how committed you are, and again, with the expertise. And you've proved it in the past, and you're proving it in the present. And again, I appreciate you, and our community appreciates you. And I would like, again, to bring you back, and I hope we can even bring Matt Dinn, Attorney General, and some others, and continue this conversation because we need to keep it moving, keep the ball moving.
Absolutely.
Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Julius, thanks, baby. Get them off on that.
I got them on.
Julius, how you doing?
for a very long time now. And the process is there, and we fully appreciate the process, and we're glad that we've come out to be #1 in the contenders list so far. I thank you all for that.
But what I see coming through the doors of the board, sounds
Because of our own self-interest, because we believe that by making sure we have a... So what we intend to do is initially set up a training facility that will be centred on actual handling of the new equipment and the new terminal operating systems there. But we're going to take it a step further. We're actually going to make it an educational facility as well. Because I hope that in the future...
How you doing? My name is Julian Cephas. I'm an ILA member of the 1694-1. Everything I heard was great. Everybody in here is about jobs. My concern again, and like I said, I'm all for jobs. Every day everybody's calling us. Like yesterday they had a meeting for the people in the office workers. They told them they had 6 months to pretty much after that. All I'm saying to everybody in here, because we heard this before with Kendra Morgan, it was great. Once we see the details, they got 2 papers, 2 sheets of papers out here right now with the everything on it. But there's a 30-page sheet. All I want to ask everybody is let's read the details of the 30 papers, 30 sheets of paper, and see. Because again, I'm all for jobs. But nobody buys a house without reading the contract. But again, nobody buys a house without reading the contract. I'm all for this job. It was very nice proposal. I just want to see the rest of the pages of the thing and see what's going on. But again, I'm all for a job.
Person that thinks that everyone needs to really look at details. I have a real deep concern about technology. And I'm just grateful that we're talking about expansion, but one thing is for sure, the technology can cut this port in half and less than in half. Because technology can also render the port movable. You don't really need people because they have railings.
Okay, again, we're back. This is the second half of the show. I just thought it was very important to have that conversation. And now we're going to talk about the Port of Wilmington and what's going on. And the first thing I want to say again is that I'm all for jobs. I'm all for everything that they're talking about. Again, and my concern right now is this: our community needs a boost. We need jobs. We need people not to be going to prison because they're out in the streets. So I'm all for that. But we did an editorial Friday, and the only thing I asked was that let's see the contract. You don't buy a house without reading the contract. Period. And I'm not going to get into nothing personal because, again, I know a lot of people on this, and it's people, good, well people who want it for the right reasons. And I believe most of the people want this. But again, you have to read, we have to see the contract. Now, I work at the Port of Wilmington. I am a member of 1694-1. We are warehouse workers. We work for the state. We're state work for the state. So, and just to get some facts straight, and there's some concerns with us because of what's not being said. Again, last week they met with the people in the office, the ladies and the supervisors. They met with them and they told them in 6 months their job would be gone. Also, that nobody to this day we have over 200-something members, and plus you have the guards and everybody else. Nobody to today, I talked to the president of our local today, nobody has talked to him or our executive board about our pensions. We asked about it. They asked about it. They're in the leadership. They was voted in to handle this. They haven't got anything. We talked to the state. The guy was talking to us, but when it came to our pension, he kind of danced around it. So we're concerned. We're concerned. Again, I asked the president today, have anybody talked to him? But I've seen people on TV talking about our pension, but they won't talk to our local. The people who, not me, because I'm not elected official, but the people who are elected to handle our business, they haven't talked to them. So that's concerning about our medical benefits, our vacate, all that. Nobody's talked to them. So, and there's some things that I was going to go into, but I'm not. But what I am going to say is, again, is that everybody, let me give you a good example. A few years ago, the same people brought Kinder Morgan, and now they're trying to say that they wasn't a part of it, and we got the tapes, we got the news articles that they supported Kinder Morgan. They took the people around and to the churches and saying how good an idea this was. And they beat me up so bad, newspaper, everything, but now they're saying that they wasn't a part of that. But all we're saying is when Kinder Morgan came, again, we just wanted to read the details. And so they put a bill in, Senate Bill 3, was for transparency. That means open up the books, let us see what's going on. And everybody was saying how many jobs, Joyous is creating a problem. But once we opened the books up, it was smoke and mirrors. It was going to be loss of jobs. They did a study impact. It was going to, the port did their own study. It was showed that they tried to hide, and we got copies of it. Their own study, impact work study, showed that it was going to be massive loss of jobs. So now we're back, but again, these are the same people who brought us Kinder Morgan. And the only thing we're asking for is to read the contract. You know, we had that housing boom where people signed, bought all these houses, and then the mortgage was $800, and then in a year it went from $800 to $2,000 because people didn't read the contract. And again, I don't know nobody who will buy a house without reading the contract, and that's been my position. I don't want to stop this. I think this is a great, great idea, and I can't stop it. But we want transparency. I don't want you to read little clips from page 1 and 2 that benefit you, but you won't read the rest. They got a thing called the final page. It's 30 pages. They only passed out 2 pages. We're 28 pages. And I don't think that I'm being, or the people who feel like I feel, that I'm doing anything wrong. You know, everybody teaches their kids, you got to read, you got to find this out. Did you sign this? Did you read this? And all we're asking to do is to read the fine print that nobody seems to want to show. They can come up here and talk about this projection. This is a great thing for our community. I agree with all that. I agree with everything everybody's saying. Now, open the books and let me read it. Before I pop the champagne, let me read the fine print. That's all I am saying. I'm for jobs. My mother was for jobs. We fought hard. I've helped a lot of people since I was younger get jobs. My mom, my family. And I'm not the only one. You got a lot of people who want this. Every day somebody's calling, looking for jobs at the port or anywhere else that we can help. But again, you know, people are attacking because we want to read we want to read the contract. We got 300 people down there right now who don't know where their pension's at, what's going to happen. You know, but people come on TV and they talk about our pension, but they won't talk to our leadership. They won't talk to our union. You know, and again, you know, let's just read the contract. That's all. That's been my position with Kinder Morgan, that I caught hell about, and that's my position now. I don't need to do no debate with nobody. What are we going to debate if we don't have nothing to debate about? If you haven't seen the paper or you decide you don't want to share the paper with the community, that's what transparency is all about. That's what Senate Bill 3 was all about, transparency. And stop the backdoor deals. Let the community know what's going on. I could understand you don't want nobody to know the bidding process when you're going through all that, but now they've already picked. They picked who they have. So now you can share things now because they've already picked. I can understand when you can't have so much information out there when you are trying to get the contract. But they got the contract. And also I want to explain something. The city sold the port to the state in a public-private partnership. Diamond State Port Corporation is a private corporation that's overseen by the state. You have the port contractors, you have the logistics, you have the warehouse, you have the trucking, you have the shipping, you have the administration, you have all bunch of workers. We're already in a private partnership already. Diamond State Port is just an overseer of that. And we get that. We don't have a problem with that. But when they did the deal with the city from the state, everything was transparent. Everything was open. Everything was open to see and view. That's not the case. People were reading taking a little line from here and there. And again, I don't see anybody trying to stop it. We just ask them to read it. We just asked them to read it. I mean, you had the CEO in the news journal of wait a minute, the Delaware Business Times. You had the CEO said this, and you got to go and read it. It's the Delaware Times. Richardson stressed that automation is necessary to make the port the best on the Delaware River. This is the CEO. This is what he's saying. This ain't no rumors. And go on and look. There's some other quotes. And I want y'all to go and see and read it. I want y'all to see what's going on with the community, and just have respect for the community. Wait a minute. And like I said again, I wrote an editorial Friday. And basically, this is what I said in my editorial. Okay, March of Madness may be over, but in Delaware, the full court press is on. The Diamond State Port Corporation is working to convince our community that the Gulf container takeover of the Port of Wilmington is a good deal. Maybe so, but DSPC has not released the paperwork so that everyone can see the Gulf container deal in writing. The port is an important state asset and provides many jobs and promise of steady income for the future. I believe that just like selling a house, you need to actually read the agreement of a sale, knowing whether it's a good deal or not. Okay, we've been through this before. About 5 years ago, Kinder Morgan negotiated a deal to take over their port and made lavish promises about the income and jobs it would bring to our community. However, we read the fine print of the agreement and we found that Kinder Morgan promises were just smoke and mirrors. DSPC should show respect for the Delaware community and release Gulf Container's full written proposal and those of the other bidders. That way we all can judge whether it is really the great deal that DSPC claims it is. And that's been our position. Like I said, we've seen this movie. We've seen them give the trade unions, say they're gonna give the trade unions money to do the construction. We've seen it. And let me say another thing, what happened at the meeting last week. The other unions was called on their tape to take off. They stopped the ships to come to the meeting. Our union wasn't called. Our union had to continue to work. So we, you know, they didn't know, and they had to continue to work. But every other union was down there, it was on their tape to stop. They stopped the ship so they can come up and work. And again, all we are, and I'm going to repeat myself, and I'm not going to get in a person, all we're asking for is to read the contract. And everybody's right about the puppies. This is a great thing for our community. It's a shot in the arm. I agree with every word of that. I agree with it. You have no argument with me. But open it up so we can see. That's all we're saying. Open it up so we can see. That's all we are saying. And I can say a lot more things. Again, we have 300 people at the port right now that nobody's talked to about their pension. People are nervous, crying. Even the ladies and the supervisors in the office, when they told them that they would lose their jobs, they said it nasty to them. I mean, it's a mess down there. It's a mess. Because you do not treat people like that. You don't leave them hanging, and you don't, the uncertainty, that's what transparency means. Let us know. Let us be able to see. That's why we fought so hard for Senate Bill 3. And right now, I haven't endorsed nobody. I'm not working with anybody. I haven't made up my mind one way or another. So it ain't about no politics, it ain't about politicians. No, that's why I'm here by myself. I'm not endorsing nobody, period, right now. We are here talking about transparency, our pensions, and what's going on. You know, we have a leader, Ernie, who I have a lot of respect for. They got an executive board, again, and he needs the answer so he can bring it back to us, to his membership, to explain what's going on. So, but again, we're for jobs. We're for it, I'm for it. All I want to do before I pop the champagne, just let me read it so I can know whether to pop the champagne or put it back up in the china closet until the port gets what it needs. And I'm gonna go again. I just want everybody to know my position. That's been my position. I haven't changed in years ago. That's the way I felt then. Back in 5 years ago when this matter was in front of us, that's how I feel now. My position never changed. My position's never changed. And I mean, you know, everybody teaches their kids to read this and find this out, but now all of a sudden that's thrown out the window. You don't do that no more. Something's wrong. You make somebody because they want to see that they're the villain. No, we are for jobs. We're for all this. Just want to read it. And again, they having a meeting Thursday at 10 o'clock in Legislation Hall about this. It's a public meeting. Go and speak your piece. I still think this is going to pass. I still believe it's going to pass. But again, our community been exploited enough, and we need to know what's going on. And I believe there's good people with good intentions about wanting this for the right reasons. And I take my hat off to them, and I applaud them. Just want to read it. And I just want to state my position. That's my position. I could say more, but it's not about me or not about this person. It's about just finding out what's going on, being transparent. And Ivan, if you can play the clip at the meeting and didn't go out playing the video, I would appreciate it. And again, everybody needs to come to the meeting. It's in Legislation Hall Thursday. Starts at 10 o'clock. Be there, voice your opinion. You have a right to know what's going on. You have a right. You are a taxpayer. The port is owned by the taxpayers. So you have a right to voice your opinion. even when people don't want you to. Thank you, and good night. Thank everybody, and good night.